It's definitely the sketchiest side of Beck, the one that feels the need to lie to even her best friend, and like Joe, I'm more than intrigued to find out her reasoning behind it. Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video. In this one I'm going to be continuing my in-depth review series of Season 1 of the Netflix original series You by picking up where we left off. In episode 3, Maybe, Joe has doubts as to where he stands in Beck's life. Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video. In this one I'm going to be continuing my in-depth review series of Season 1 of the Netflix original series You by picking up where we left off. In episode 3, titled Maybe, Joe has doubts as to where he stands in Beck's life when he discovers that she is hooking up with multiple men, even after the movie-worthy kiss they shared in the bookstore when she thanked him for all he did for her and continues to do for her on a daily basis. Desperate to be the one and only man in her life who has all of her undivided attention, he goes to new lengths to convince her that she doesn't need anyone else, from murdering Benji and setting his body on fire in the woods to cover up his tracks to spying on her whenever she thinks that he's doing his own thing, meaning she should be able to do so as well. For a while, his plan seems to be working out until sleeping together in her apartment ends not only 20 seconds after it begins. Episode 4 deals with the aftermath of this moment, and it's anything but comfortable for the two of them who can't think of anything else to say or do other than sit in silence until Beck receives a life-saving text message that gives her an excuse to run straight into the bathroom. To both my surprise and Joe's, though, it isn't Peach, Lynn, or Annika, but a mysterious man named the Captain, who we both suspect to be her secret sugar daddy. One who's so secret she hasn't even told any of her closest friends, and she tells them just about everything that goes on in her life, so we know the big reveal is going to be good. I mean, she just deleted Tinder. Now should be the time to fully commit herself to one man, right? Too stressed, depressed, and embarrassed to spend another second in Beck's apartment, Joe leaves before she can even exit the bathroom, and when she finally does, a million thoughts are going through her mind. She totally just made him more insecure than he probably already felt, and now she has to go away for a whole weekend. After being presented with this dilemma, her top priority is to buy a dress with the money that she was given, and her second is to text her friends about her and Joe's short-lived sex. While Annika asks if he's worth keeping around, Peach insists that he isn't, his lack of skills in the bedroom and her missing book only adding to the long list of reasons why she should move on, but Beck tries her best to remain positive about the whole situation. To get their minds off of the current dilemmas the girls are finding themselves being presented with, Peach suggests that they hang out over the weekend only to be fooled into thinking that Beck will be going to a writer's retreat where she can improve her skills instead of telling her the truth that she'll actually be meeting up with the Captain. It's definitely the sketchiest side of Beck, the one that feels the need to lie to even her best friend, and like Joe, I'm more than intrigued to find out her reasoning behind it. Until this very moment, I'm also learning what her thoughts are on everything going on in her life when the story is told once again in Joe's point of view. Determined to get to the bottom of this, Joe leaves town and checks into the same hotel as her and hears her call the Captain, a man old enough to be her dad. Now, even more confused than before, he watches them get into the Captain's car and travels behind them all the way to a festival just to make sure that he heard what he heard correctly. Yes, secrets may be kept from Peach, Lynn, and Annika, but not him. Much to his relief, though, it actually does turn out to be her dad, along with her stepmom and step-siblings, who are basically the replacements of her mother, and two siblings, who I personally would love to meet at some point. Still, he has questions as to why she would lie about her dad's death in the first place that he gets the answers to by taking another look at her broken phone. Her dad may have overdosed like she claimed he did during one of their talks, but was revived and taken to rehab, then fell in love with a woman other than Beck's mom, going as far as to make her his wife. I have to say, if I was one of her friends, she would have fooled me too. I never would have expected her to be so secretive about her life, especially such a big part of it. Don't get me wrong though, that doesn't mean that I like this side of her family at all. They act so pretentiously that it hurts, and anyone who took one look at them would probably have to agree with me on that. So the next question is, why exactly is she keeping them a secret from anyone? Don't get me wrong though, that doesn't mean that I like this side of her family at all. They act so pretentiously that it hurts, and anyone who took one look at them would probably have to agree with me on that. So the next question is, why exactly is she keeping them a secret from anyone who means anything to her? Well, don't worry, we'll get to that, but first we have a lot to discuss. As if Beck couldn't feel more betrayed and unwanted by her dad, discovering the news that her stepmom is pregnant from her stepsister isn't exactly the best feeling in the world. All she wanted for him to do when he left rehab was to go back to the family he already started and fix all the damage he did to it, but now it's clear that won't be happening because he's starting a new one instead. Meanwhile, back in New York, Peach goes to Joe's bookstore in search of her missing book, where she learns that Joe isn't there. Convinced that Beck lied to her to get away with her new boyfriend for the weekend, she calls her and tells her what she now knows and tries, but ultimately fails to come up with an excuse. Joe is indeed there, she just doesn't believe it until she searches through the sea of people and sees that one familiar face of his. The look on her face doesn't say pleasantly surprised though, and I wouldn't be either. The newly found knowledge of his presence is more unsettling than sweet, but he explains himself by telling her that he didn't like how they left things, so he tracked her down by finding the address to a restaurant in a photo that she posted online. Ultimately, she then finds herself feeling like she has a lot more to explain than she does, so she tells him everything that he now already knows except for the reasoning behind her biggest secret yet. At 12 years old, she returned home from school earlier than her siblings and before her mother, who was still at work, only to find her dad lying on the floor completely unconscious with a needle in his arm. Naturally, she thought he was dead, but later received the news that he miraculously survived, only for him to leave her and the rest of her family behind. So, to save herself the misery of constantly retelling the whole story to everyone, she now tells everyone that he's dead because, in a way, part of him did die that day. The only reason she still associates with him is for his wealth, which Joe understands and even agrees to go to dinner with them. But just like the sex they had that one night, it's cut short, this time being due to a fight between her and her stepmother. Yes, it's an understandable explanation, but I personally think that she should still work on being more truthful with the people around her, because it doesn't paint a very pretty picture of her to someone without hindsight. It does make for an intriguing background for a character though, and that's something I can't deny. Wanting nothing more than to help her work through her anger, Joe suggests that she write about what happened with her dad, or talk about it with him, only for her to get defensive with him too. But the moment he leaves, she actually finds herself following his advice, and it pays off because her new piece ends up sending chills up the spine of anyone who reads it. And once again, she finds herself at his door jumping into his arms, except the timing is disastrous. All of her stolen belongings are scattered about his apartment, his response more cautious than carnal, which is expected, but the next thing he does is, well, not so much. He not only welcomes her inside, but also manages to hide them all right under her nose, and I mean that as literally as possible. As they're kissing, getting undressed, and exploring each other's bodies, he's pushing her stolen underwear in between the cushions of his couch and hiding her broken phone under his pillows. Like everything else he's done leading up to this point, it's insane, but this, I'm saying, is insane. One wrong move and he could have been caught red-handed, and their relationship would be over as quickly as it began. And, most likely, his life, because she would have sent that creep to jail. I think we can all agree that that would be too short of an ending for the show though. I mean, someone with his level of intelligence doesn't get caught that easily. So, as it turns out, Beck reveals to her friends that Joe actually is worth it, and all of them are applauding her on her decision except for Peach. Her beloved book is still missing, and he is the #1 suspect until he creeps into her apartment and returns it that night, buying him more time to live out his fairy tale romance with Beck. I love that in this episode we get to take a closer look into Beck's life through her eyes, not just Joe's, and the songs used in it are on point too, so it gets 2 thumbs up for me. Well, I'm going to end this video right here, so I hope you all enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it for you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!